Back for part two was my interview with Coach Barker. We had some technical difficulties yesterday. We're going to continue off question 17. How can coaches proactively minimize liabilities and risks generally?
Um, Kind of back to what we started with yesterday. As an example, with football, um, I've been a part of some really good staffs. I think I'm part of good staff now, and we give our kids water breaks, and we give them, how do I put it? It's consistent. In other words, maybe it's every 20 minutes or so, but we give them water consistently throughout practice, and if they need more water, they're allowed to get water. So that's one way that's being proactive in allowing the kids to continually keep themselves hydrated. As I said yesterday, precautions that you take if a player comes up to you and says, I'm feeling lightheaded or I'm feeling nauseated. First thing we do is get them in the shade. If we feel like it's dehydration, we're going to have them sip water, and if we have to, we'll make them lay down. Obviously, obviously, if they get little dings and bangs, and we address it immediately. And those are some things that we can do that are proactive to try to avoid the and minimize, as the question asked, the liabilities and risks. And you and I talked about this yesterday. Obviously, player health and safety comes first. So that's one way we address it. With football, we could get into all sorts of stuff. I mean, we could talk about equipment and all the things that we do to make sure the equipment's fitting properly and all that. But that would we could talk for an hour on that. So
One question I would ask though is, what about during a game and a player is injured, and he may be a key part of one of your part of your team? How would you address that?
well, in football, in high school football, there's protocols. So if a player goes down, then a coach from the staff will immediately be out on the field with that player. And of course, if you have a trainer, and at all games, it's required that you have somebody who's medically qualified. So of course, that player is going to be addressed immediately. That situation and issue is dealt with immediately. Now, as far as how do we handle it as a coaching staff, we have a depth chart. So next man up. So if this young man goes down, he's going to miss a play minimum. So you've got to have a player who can go in for at least a play minimum. But if it's beyond that, then again, it's just next man up. We have a depth chart, and that's what I follow as my depth chart. Now, if that number 2 guy is not available, then we go to the number 3 guy. But we adjust as we need to go. But again, back to the injury, as you're asking, the player that's injured, that takes priority. That has priority over everything else, and that's what we address first.
So, would you say that the days of, hey, we're playing through pain or, suck it up, is pretty much like done?
I would say, for the most part, that it is, from my perspective and in my opinion. Some kids are going to come off and they're, oh, coach, I got dinged up. Okay, let's take a look at it. Let's see, can we fix it? Can you go in or not go in? Oh, yeah, coach, I can go in. I can go in. Just tape it up for me and I'm good to go. Okay, if you're being honest with me, and okay, we're going to get you in there. You're good to go. We're going to let you go. However, kids have become more honest. And so that helps in that they've become more honest with coaches. And of course, we're more adept at, no, you're not ready to go back in, and you're not going back in. And as for cross country, it's the same thing with football. As you know, you've got concussion protocol.
Oh yeah.
And so with concussion protocol, I mean that kid is out until he's cleared. And if a medical person will clear him during the game, saying no, he's fine, he just got dinged, okay, that player will return. But if we're not getting an okay from a qualified medical person, then that kid, if he got his bell rung, he will not be back in the game. So I would say yes, we've advanced beyond that mentality.
Oh, that's great. Okay. What are some effective and ineffective approaches to discipline?
The I think myself, along with most coaches, we've learned that there are different things we have to do to discipline, and there's still old school ways that are still effective. The guys will get a little squirrely. They're starting to get out of hand. They're losing focus. Circle them up, start chopping them. We blow the whistle, and you're going to do up downs. And from what I've seen, most coaches are like me. You're going to go 10 up downs. You're going to get back at it. For some teams and for some kids, that's effective, but on other teams, it's not effective. So then you just get up on the goal line, and you blow the whistle, and you run 10-yard sprints for 5 or 6 or 10 or 8 sprints or whatever, and that seems to be effective, and that works. And then in other cases, it doesn't. So again, I think it goes back to some of what we were talking about yesterday and answering this question. You really have to get a feel for your team and what can we do that will police things and it will be effective, and what is not being effective and we need to leave in the closet. What we're finding more and more, and again, I'm sure you're finding this with cross country, is we're especially trying to put seniors in a position of leadership, and we're working really hard, I think, just like every other high school football staff, in that we want the kids to police themselves, because in reality, policing themselves is really the most effective discipline process that you have. And again, that's an opinion. But when the seniors are jumping in, or our team leaders are jumping in and saying, hey, knock it off, enough's enough, or you're going to be doing this, that seems to have more of an effect of getting that focus back and getting the squirreliness to go away, I guess, if you will.
Okay. And what do you think doesn't work?
Well, we can go back to the up downs. I mean, I can remember playing high school football. I can remember when I first started coaching, you'd had enough, and they're messing around, they're not focused, and you circle them up and you're making them do 25 or 30 up downs, or you're making them do 50 push-ups, or you're making them do suicides. And first and foremost, you're not doing any good. They're upset now because you're overdoing it. There's a line that you don't want to cross, and those days are gone, I think. But to me, that's not effective, and it wasn't effective, and that's why I quit doing it. That's why I found other things to do. Okay, 10 push-ups, 10 up downs, whatever, but it's going to be quick and fast so we can get back to what we're trying to do and get our focus back. It's just primarily using it now. Get your focus back. This is where I need your focus. Where before, it was on the verge of with some coaches, you could say it was on the verge of just being stupid. But I think, really, Coach, I think those days are gone. At least I hope that they are.
I hope so too. I follow in that suit too. Is the longer I see the punishment goes and not getting them back focused, the less we practice.
Yeah.
Okay. What considerations need to be made in regards to compliance? And I think compliance, like rules, regulations.
AIA.
Yeah.
We're talking about. Well, with football, it's a little bit different than with other sport. Of course, we're starting now in August, early August, and sometimes late July. When I first started coaching football in Arizona, we didn't start till third week in August. And so now we have what's called heat acclimation week. And so again, where when I played high school football, you had your helmet on the first couple of days, and then you had your shoulder pads on. But by day 3 or 4, you were in full pads. Now we're to a point now where you're a full week into heat acclimation before you're actually getting into full pads, and where you're getting to a point where you can start hitting. So we have protocols that we have to follow with the AIA. Also with the AIA, we have the trickle-down effect from the NFL to the major college level to the small college level down to the high school level. We don't hit, and we have to be very careful. The amount of hitting we can do in practice is being regulated by the AIA. So as an example, there's a certain percentage of your practice before your first game that you're allowed to hit. And then after that first game, that number is reduced. And so we have to be very mindful of that. We have to be very careful with that, and making sure that we're complying with. And again, as I finish this answer, it's about player health and safety. Like I told my football players, I've told them 3 or 4 times in the last 2 weeks, when I was a kid growing up, you're trying to watch an NFL game on Sunday, half the starters were out sometimes because they were so beat up from practice they couldn't play. You know, they were injured in practice. The same with major college at that time. They just beat the living crud out of each other. And, you know, finally people wised up, and now it's where, like when we watch a game on Monday night or Thursday night or whatever, watching NFL, we're pretty much watching all the starters unless something fluky has happened. We're getting to see the starters, the star players, the guys that are making that money, but they're also the guys that are able to perform at that level. And the same with major college. And so that's trickled down to the high school now. So we don't hit nearly as much. And, you know, for us last year, we had some dings, but we did not go through major injuries last year, which was very, very helpful for our program. And it makes the kids want to hit on Friday night.
You guys got pretty far last year too.
Yeah.
It was great. What about being compliant academically?
And again, that's followed very closely. We have our athletic secretary,
We have one of those?
yeah,
Oh, I never met her.
Miss Richardson, Miss Heather's the athletic secretary.
Oh, that's right.
And so she posts every week. We'll get an email for so middle school coaches will get an email for middle school eligibility. We get an email for high school eligibility. And so, as an example, if a athlete would be on your ineligible list today, they would be ineligible this week for a Friday football game. But by next Tuesday, they can have their grade up and they can be eligible again. But for this week, they would be ineligible. And so we have help so that we're in compliance academically. We have help on campus. And then, of course, you know, we have, like any other school, we have great teachers. If a kid's struggling with math or history or science or whatever, the teachers' doors are open. And of course, we're encouraging the kids, go get the tutoring, go get the help you need. This is when they've told you to be there, get the help. So that's kind of, I don't think we're any different than anybody else. That's pretty much what we do to stay within compliance academically.
That's great. I know Watts, he comes sees me personally.
Okay, yeah.
Hey, you got 2 on this list and you need to do something about it.
Yeah, and he'll do that with us too, yeah.
That's great. How can social media be a problem and opportunity for coaches?
Well, I'm not much on the social media. I mean, I have my phone, I love technology, and I can text, but I don't have the Instagram stuff. I don't have the Tweety Bird thing. What is that called?
Well, Twitter?
Twitter, yeah, okay.
I called it that too until my
Okay.
kids corrected me.
Okay, I don't have any of that stuff. My wife's the one who's on Facebook. You know, I don't do that stuff. I know though, like I have several coaches in my contacts, and we text, and we're back and forth. And again, it goes back to one of the questions you asked yesterday about developing relationships with coaches. And so I think from the social media part of it, doing it correctly, developing that relationship with coaches and administrators, like people in the AIA, who I know nobody in the AIA, but you know, I guess it would probably be a good idea on social where you could interact with them and build again strong positive relationships. But then again, you and I see, I mean, we see it all the time. Somebody says something on their Insta thing or the
Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
And all of a sudden it's blowing up all over the place, and everybody and his brother, you know, knows what you said, and you said something that probably wasn't meant the way it came out, but it came out the way it came out, and so that's one of those things, Coach. It's the flip of the coin. It's good on this side of it, but it's bad on this side of it. And we as coaches, and as you said yesterday, trying to be as professional as we can at what we do. You know, my opinion is you just really got to think. Don't be hot-headed. Don't be mad. Don't be upset if you're gonna throw something out there on social media that can come back to haunt you. You got to be really careful.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's pretty good. All right, this question is on here. This is a personal question for me.
Okay.
Yeah, we're done with this list.
Okay.
But I would like to know if you would have something to say to new or future coaches or coaches starting out, give them some advice that you found helped you be successful, early in your career that you had to learn that would help them be successful.
Well, I think the first thing we have to understand about coaching is it's not about you. And if you're making it about you, you will have limited success. And it will make it very difficult to build those types of relationships that some of these questions we're asking about. You got to be humble, and you got to understand that it's about the kids, and it goes back to, again, all these things we've been talking about: building that team, building that brotherhood, building that camaraderie, where we, these are people you want to be around and love to be around, and you're going to do the things that you have to do. My advice would be, obviously, know what it is you're doing, know your sport, but it goes back to the. Sometimes I don't always come off as being humble, but the bottom line is the kids know it's not about me, and they know it's about them. And we as coaches need to help the kids know and understand that they come first. As like for me, the kids I've coached over the years, these kids become an extension of my family. And I feel that way, and most coaches that I know feel that way. These kids become an extension of your family. The best advice I can give you is be humble. It's not about you. It's about the kids. Put first things first. I teach the kids to live life by the 3 F's: faith, family, and football. And sometimes I have to explain it to them, but most of them get it. Okay, coach is telling me, put things in their proper order. Put first things first. Nothing comes before family. And we as coaches have to set that example. The other thing that I would say is that help your family be a part of what you're doing, and get them to love and buy into that and want to be a part of it. One of the things that's I've been very fortunate in that my wife has always supported me. I've been, my wife and I are going to have our 45th anniversary this next February, and I've been coaching 36 years of that marriage, and she, she's always there. She's always been there. She supports me. She's not a sports person, never has been, but she has always supported me in my coaching. The move, like I told you, the move from here up to the nation for over 3 years, and then we came back because her parents needing help. But she was willing to do that and support me in what I was doing. And so, again, my advice to young coaches, guys just getting started in the game is, and especially if you're young and married and newly married, your wife's got to understand she's first in all things. Because if it's not that way, as you go down the road, there'll be probably issues that you're going to have to deal with that you don't want to have to deal with. And I will say this, and I know we have to be careful with this, but I am a person of faith. Mm-hmm. And fortunately for me, in the 36 years that I've been coaching, I can honestly tell you every coaching staff I've been a part of, all the guys that I've had the good fortune to coach with and be a part of them and their lives have all been people of faith. And, it's not about the championships. No coach ever won a game about what he knows. He wins a game by what his players know and how well they execute.
It's very good. I thank you for your time, and this was some great stuff. I appreciate you.
All right.
This was a lot of great stuff that you told me, and it's helping me.
Okay. Good.
So I'm gonna go back to work and